Here are today's episode highlights.
Recordar es volver a vivir. You know, to remember is to live again.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's the beauty of traveling. It takes us back to those trips. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do.
We ended up partying with like some mafiosos from Venice. You know, they had like a whole, the gondola mafia, which is a whole thing, girl.
Oh my God.
Somebody could kidnap us. We didn't have phones. Imagine you get lost. Who do you call?
No phone. We had to go to the internet cafe.
Or the little cards.
Those calling cards.
Calling cards.
Los españoles will out party a Mexicano and anyone.
Vámonos de marcha.
Oh no, they don't start. They start dinner at 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clubs start at 2 a.m.
That's right.
And then there's part 1 and then part 2. It's wild.
On a bus by myself at 14, 15 years old. I would never in my right mind let my child do that.
I lost my luggage.
Your makeup was in there also? Most
todo,
of it?
everything. I had no chones. I had no...
So you were crusty.
I was crusty.
8 o'clock dinner. The kids are tired. They don't want to eat what's at the restaurant. And you're like, this is not enjoyable.
But then you look at the pictures.
And you're like,
then you're like, we had a great time, right?
Exactly. I love my luggage. It's those foldable ones.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
With hangers. So even my dresses, my dresses are hung. It's the best luggage I found on Amazon like 10 years ago.
That's a good tip. Invest in good luggage.
Make sure.
Hey girl, welcome. We've been waiting for you.
Bienvenida. We are 4 Comadres and we are so excited to have you here. I am Argelia.
I am Mindy.
I am Diana.
And I'm Janet. Join us. Grab that drink.
Get comfy, settle in, and get to know us.
As we get down with some real conversations.
And raise that glass to the true power of sisterhood.
Are you ready for us?
This is Comadres Unfiltered.
Salud! Salud! We are back.
We're back.
Baby.
I am Argelia.
I am Mindy.
I'm Diana.
And I'm Janet.
And together we are
Comadres Unfiltered.
That's right. Bienvenidas, comadritas, watching or listening. Janet just came back from an epic trip. She has inspired us to talk about the beauty and magic and benefits and the power of travel.
That's right.
So today, ladies, we are going to take a step back. We're going to walk on memory lane. We are going to laugh and possibly even get nostalgic when we remember those very first trips that we made when we were on our own with our own money that we earned by selling whatever we were selling back in the day. Well, I'll share what I was selling back in the day when I was trying to save my pennies. And also just to share how we travel, advice, tips. You know that there are people in the world, in our country, in our families, within our circle of friends that have never gotten on a plane, or on a boat, or on a bus, or just have never left their city or town.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
It is sad.
It really
Qué bueno que lo dices. I think that traveling is one of the most transformative, exciting experiences that we can give ourselves.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We learn so much,
100%.
right?
And the generations to come. I mean, we absolutely see our day-to-day differently and just the world differently.
Yeah.
You know, and ultimately it just comes down to we're all so similar, right? With just different experiences.
Different cultures.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. It's just beautiful to see. I think you have more empathy towards other people and you know, towards that day to day when you encounter other people that don't look like you, that don't do things like you have just more patience and understanding.
I agree with you. Not too long ago, I read a study that said that people that travel are the happiest people.
Yeah,
I agree.
And planning a trip can be exciting, but it can also be very stressful. And we talk about the stresses of traveling, of picking a destination with the family when the kids already have an opinion. And they don't want to go to, they don't want to go to, let's say, Yosemite because now they want to go to Paris. And you're like, but I don't have a budget for Paris. I got a budget for Cachuma Lake.
I got a budget for Las Vegas.
Paris, California.
I'll take you to Paris, Las Vegas.
But it's interesting because the study was saying that when people travel, yes, even though there is a lot of tension sometimes between members and also when we are traveling, because a lot of us don't want to do the museums or walking all day or waking up too early to catch that tour. There's so many stressful moments that happen when you travel with family.
Yes,
that's why it's very important to travel on your own when you can. But when you come back and when time goes by, and when you look at those pictures or scrapbooks or photo albums, or when you gather around the table and you reminisce about that one trip, happiness kicks in.
Yeah, it takes you back to
that
moment.
In
that
Spanish,
moment in time.
se dice recordar es volver a vivir. You know, to remember is to live again.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so that's the beauty of traveling. It takes us back to those trips. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to relive those memorable trips with family, on our own, with friends, college friends. Woo, those are the best ones for me. But let's start, before we get into Janet's epic latest adventure, let's start with the very first trip that we made when we were young, I want to say, and where we went and how we got there. So let's open and have that conversation.
Ay, Mindy. La Mindy ya tiene aventuras.
Because mind you, girls, when we met each other, we had already traveled.
Oh, for sure.
So that means that I don't know your first trip, Janet, like on your own, solo. I don't know your first crazy trip, Dee, if you ever had one, like a crazy one that I want to know. Mindy, I have a feeling she has a few crazy trips maybe up her sleeve.
Several.
Today, I want to discover those stories.
Oh,
I guess I'll.
Do we start with Janet?
Yes, I can start.
Okay.
You know, my first real trip was to Europe, and it was when I was going to study abroad. And this was before cell phones and everything else. So, you know, your traveling was just done differently, you know. And I had about 4 or 5 girlfriends that were also going to study abroad, but they left before me. So we were going to arrive in Europe about a month before we were actually going to study. So we were going to study in Spain, in Madrid. So we dropped off our stuff in Madrid, and the girls had started up in the north. I think they had started in Amsterdam, and they were traveling, and we were going to meet in Rome. I got to Madrid, and the girls did not travel straight to Rome. They were still traveling. I think it was in Germany, or they had stopped along the way. So I got to Rome, and I was by myself.
Can I ask you how old you were?
I was 21.
21.
20.
Okay.
I was 20.
20.
I was 20. Yeah. So I was a sophomore, I think. Sophomore or junior in college. About sophomore, I think it was in college, when you do your study abroad, or junior, algo así.
Right.
So I got to Rome. I'm scared out of my mind because my idea was not to travel by myself, right? Yes. So I get there, and we were going to do this whole thing with hostels y toda la cosa, and I was like, I don't think so. Like, I'm by myself. Like, these things have been really scary. Like, te los habían pintado, like, really scary. So I get to Rome, and they lost my luggage.
Oh.
So I had to
what
stay.
A way to start.
Yes. Well, and then they put me at a hotel, and then really, really nicely, like almost out of a movie, the soccer team from Milan is staying at the same hotel. So I'm in the lobby.
But
like,
no luggage.
Oh my God, I love freaking Italy.
luggage.
Hot with no luggage.
Which is the worst.
So then that was fun.
That forced you to shop. Oh,
What's that? Yes,
That
I had
forced you
to
to
shop.
shop.
No. I got my luggage back.
Oh, good.
Get to Rome. I ended up seeing what it looked like, the hostel. I ended up meeting 2 Mexicans that were there. Y no la pasamos increíble. They grabbed my luggage from the hotel I was staying at. We had the most amazing time. But then my friends arrived, and then I felt comfortable enough traveling on my own, which I did. Wow. I went on my own, and I went to Florence. I moved up Italy. I went to Switzerland.
But you're by yourself
by
completely?
myself. I was never by myself, but I was traveling by myself.
Wow. Yeah.
So I would meet people that were kind of going in the same direction as I was. So I told you I'm not an adrenaline seeker, but I do seek adventure. And this was adventurous for me. I mean, in Venice, I met a girl who was dating a chef. We ended up partying with like some mafiosos from Venice. You know, they had like a whole the gondola mafia, which is a whole thing, girl.
Well,
I mean,
God.
I was just con los ojos abiertos, never having left, you know, just like Mexico and LA. And then we traveled up into Germany, and I was at Oktoberfest by myself. And I ended up meeting a group of like 12 Mexican girls from LA that were studying in Italy. So I ended up hanging out with them the whole time while I was there.
And isn't that the best?
It is
when
the
you meet
best.
people.
Yes.
And that was my rule, though. So it sometimes works out. It sometimes is very interesting.
Yeah.
So my rule was I'm going to meet girls, right? My age that are traveling, usually from the U.S. or like maybe a European girl that's traveling about, because there were a lot of people that are traveling like that as well. So I get to Amsterdam, and this is my rule as well. I go to a bar who I thought I was going to meet somebody that went to UCLA with me. I sit at the bar, and there's a couple of people hanging out, and there's these two girls that are next to me, and we strike up a conversation. The person that I was going to go see didn't show up, so my rule, meet girls to go explore the city.
Of course.
I end up hanging out with these girls. They're so much fun, you know?
Yeah.
And
Wait, this is in Amsterdam.
This is in Amsterdam.
Uh-oh.
This is in Amsterdam.
I heard
you know
about Amsterdam.
You know where the story's going.
Red light
Yes,
district.
the red light district. I always think of that.
Well, you know what? I just wanted to go see different areas. And so we traveled about the city. And, you know, she's showing me around because she knows the city, and with another girlfriend of hers. And so there's 3 girls. And then we meet up with 2 of their other guy friends. And so there's a big group, and we're going to bars. We're going to the cafes, and, you know, and then they're like, do you want to go see the red light district? I'm like, yeah. So we walk through the red light district, then we go somewhere else. Then one of the guys in the group just says, you know who you're hanging out with, right? And I go, no, what do you mean?
Oh my gosh, it's getting scary.
I know.
So I'm like, no, what do you mean? She's so nice. Like the 2 girls, they were so nice. They're like, she's a prostitute.
Oh.
I go, what? What do you
No wonder she knew the city so well.
She knew the city so well.
She knew all the little
I did not know.
corners.
And then I turned out, I told them, I was like, you know that I'm not. No, she already told us that you're a student traveling and that, you know, this whole thing. But I was like, oh my God, here I'm thinking I'm doing this the right way. And she ended up being nice, and obviously I'm still here standing.
Right.
But there are certain situations that you get yourself into sometimes when you're traveling that can be really scary. This one didn't turn out to be, and it ended up being like a fun story that I can tell now.
Yes.
But yeah, that happened. And again, it's like one of those things that you have no idea.
Surprise.
So I want to know what happened after you found out.
Yes.
And she was did you say goodbye, like fun hanging out with
it
you,
was
gotta
towards
go?
the end of the night,
Oh.
and then you know, I didn't see her afterwards,
Okay.
but I didn't mention it. I was just like, oh my God. Yeah, but I saw the night a little differently.
You're like,
How it had gone. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, my naive self, you know, this is part of not traveling, right? Like you get yourself into situations that you just don't see.
You don't.
You just don't
Especially
see them.
because you don't have enough time. You're stopping at different cities. And
Yes.
you're meeting new people, and there's not enough time to get to know them, you know, deeply,
Yes,
right? It's like you know them on the surface, and they're fun, and that's it.
Yeah.
You don't know they're serial killers,
Yes.
prostitutes. I mean,
Or if they're
you have
real,
no-
they're giving you their real name
Exactly,
or where
you
they're really
don't
from.
know.
Oh gosh. And you
It's
see
true.
Taken after, right? Because
Yes.
I saw it much after. And I'm like,
Yes, the
oh
movie
my
Taken.
God, my daughters are never going to travel. Like,
know,
this is not going to happen.
That's so
you know.
funny.
But
that you
again,
say
it's,
that.
But it
became a
is
fun story.
kind of rare. So I always say, you know what? Just do it. Just travel, see the world. You know, it is. You know, the danger is rare when you travel.
Yeah.
It is rare because our guards are up. Right. When we travel, my guard is up, and
Absolutely.
I'm looking around.
It's so.
For, like,
I like that
weirdos.
you bring that up. The
Yes.
danger is present, or it's.
It's
You're right,
always
especially
present,
when
no
you're
matter
young.
where you
And
are.
right now, you said I don't want my. You think about it. I don't want my daughter to go through this because
Yes.
I've been there, done it. Till this day, there's one thing that I always ask my mom. ¿Cómo me dejaste ir sola del este de Los Ángeles a Tijuana
Wow.
en un autobús, in a bus? Like, why did you
Yes.
let me
Oh,
get on a
Because
bus?
you're from East LA.
Yeah.
Well, hold on, but that's not the story. The story, I know I'm from East LA, but the thing is that I was 18 when it was my freshman year in college, which I have a very similar story to yours, by the way, study abroad, which we will talk about the importance of studying abroad when you're in college.
Yes.
But when I was 18 and it was my freshman year in college, that December, I wanted to go to Mexico. I just wanted to go see my grandma, I wanted to go see my best friends. And I already had a little bit of money that I was saving up from my first college job. And my first destination on my own, I chose San Juan. I know, it's not exciting. But it was the fact that I was traveling by myself.
Yes.
And it's a place you knew.
And it's
so
a
maybe
place
feel
I
a little
knew.
bit more comfortable.
And my mom was like, okay, you can go on your own, right? But the thing is that I didn't have enough money to buy a ticket from LAX
Ooh.
to Guadalajara. But I had enough money to buy a ticket from Tijuana to Guadalajara, which meant, how do I get to Tijuana? Who's going to drive me to Tijuana?
Yeah.
So my mom was like, we don't drive in this house. She doesn't drive. So she said, Mami, allí hay un autobús que sale todos los viernes. Not even a Greyhound. It's one of the Tres Estrellas or Venado Dorado. Those kind of.
Wait, but how old were you?
Those ghetto ass buses, right?
Yes. How old were you?
18.
Okay, but you were an adult.
Oh, God.
I thought you were going to say you were like
16.
When I was 7 years old, my mom started putting me on a plane by myself.
Well, the thing is, I know you told me that. I remember. But there's something about putting your kid on a plane and you seeing your kid on the plane and there's an adult on the plane watching you.
Yeah.
Here's like, mija, que te vaya bien, en el nombre del Padre, el Hijo, el Espíritu Santo, call me when you get there. But point is that I leave East LA in one of those very just weird stations, get on this bus, and I'm already all dressed up thinking, because como voy a llegar a San Juan, like, like I need to like shut that down from here. So I'm all pretty and stuff. And point is that I get to Tijuana, but then what happens in Tijuana? There's massive traffic. Girls, I was this close of missing I didn't make it on time to the airport. And I was stressing. And I was like, Señor, I need to make it to the airport in Tijuana. You cannot be here. Vengo de Los Angeles. My grandma's waiting for me. But point is that I was surrounded by strangers. And then crazy people in Tijuana that when I think about it, I'm like, would I ever let my daughters go on a bus today?
Heck no.
From East LA to Tijuana, and then from Tijuana go and
way.
maneuver yourself and navigate the airport, and then get on the plane, and then get to Guadalajara, and then get a taxi from Guadalajara to San Juan, which is like an hour and a half back then without the new roads. I just think like two things. Mama, why did you let me? And two, I am freaking brave.
Yes.
We're fearless at that age. At 18,
brave.
at 19, 20, when I was hearing your story, there's danger present, but we are so fearless at that age. And that's why it's the best time to travel. Because there are dangers out there. Somebody could kidnap us. We didn't have phones. Imagine you get lost. Who do you call?
No
Where?
phone.
No phone.
We had to go to the internet cafe.
Or the little cards. Las
calling cards.
Calling
cards. There you go, from the phone booths, right?
From the phone booth.
I got to do that.
But I always go back to Argelia at 18, being fearless for the first time traveling on her own.
So what was your next big trip after, like, solo trip, but non-Mexico? Because we've all talked about our trips to Mexico.
On the
we
road.
had amazing.
Times,
I had amazing vacations in Mexico with my family.
Yeah.
But what was your first one?
It was definitely thanks to college. It was study abroad, and also to Madrid, and I traveled by myself as well. I took advantage of my time at LMU to say I want to do Spanish, just study Spanish in Madrid and Spain for one summer. I wanted to do the whole semester. Fear did kick in a bit. I was like a whole semester away from my family. I don't know if I could do that. So I chose the summer. And I took off by myself, which I did a connecting flight from LAX to Boston, and then from Boston to Madrid. And I think that's one of the best experiences ever. One, because for the first time I was crossing the ocean, in that way. First time I was on this big airplane, and I felt like, wow, so this is what it is to travel on these big Airbuses. And for the first time, I will never forget this part of my trip, is seeing the sun rise from the plane. I was 20, I was a junior, and just seeing the transformation from the window, from going to pitch black to that one line to the sun coming out. Girls, I'm not lying. I started to cry because it was the most amazing, mesmerizing thing that I've ever seen in my life, of how every day we get a chance to see birth again.
Yes.
If you think about it,
a new day.
Amanecer, ¿qué significa? Amar, nacer.
Yes.
And when I saw it in front of my eyes, how a beginning of a new day, just from nothing to something, it till this day gives me chills. And it's probably been the only time I've seen the sunrise from up in the sky, where it is a glorious moment. And then, Madrid, llegó Argelia, this girl from East LA, and I just had the best time. I lived in a home where a family hosted me, and I was hearing your stories where you were solo, but you hung out with people that you met along. With me, I hung out more with the daughters and sons of the lady that hosted me than the actual college kids.
And how long were you there?
I was there for an entire summer, from May to like
Oh, wow.
end of July.
So you got really immersed into the culture, the food, the people, everything.
And that's the best thing.
That's so
I think
awesome.
I wanted to. They gave us a choice. You could either stay in a hotel where they were hosting the college kids, because there were kids from all over the place of states, or you could be hosted by a family. So I said, no, I want to be living the Spaniard lifestyle. So I chose a family. And so that was beautiful, because I ended up partying with the locals as opposed to the tourists. So yeah, I would hang out with the college
kids. And they know how to
kids.
party, by the way.
Well, yeah, they do.
Los españoles will
Amazing.
out party a Mexicano
Tía,
and anyone.
Vámonos de marcha.
Oh no, they don't start. They start dinner at 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clubs start at 2 a.m.
That's right.
And then there's part 1 and then part 2. It's wild.
It was wild.
Some of my best
You're
party
right.
times has been España. Spain is the bomb when you want to party when you're young.
It is.
Oh, do I highly recommend it?
Oh, yeah.
I recommend go to Spain.
What's stopping
have a
us?
good
We're still young.
time.
I
We're
still
still
remember
young.
this one
Yeah.
club that's still there, by the way, because I went back to Spain 2-3 years ago with the family, and we walked by Joy Slava.
Joy
Slava.
Slava.
For sure, Joy. It's not there
Yes.
anymore, by the way.
No, well, 3 years ago it was.
Not no more.
In 2019. Well, that was more than 3 years ago. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's
God,
not-
they
not
closed
through-
it down.
I investigated. I have a couple friends who went back to Madrid. I'm like, oh, did you guys go to Joy? They're like, oh, it's gone. It's been gone for a while.
Well,
So how sad,
I
right?
know.
Great memories there.
Well, it
Great
was there a
memories.
few years back, and I told the
Yeah.
girls where mommy would party when I was a
Yes.
college girl. But I would party there with the tourists.
Oh.
But then the locals, I mean, the los hijos de la señora, they took me to the places where the locals
Oh,
would
yeah.
party.
Those are the
So I
best.
felt like I had the best of both worlds.
Oh,
and
you
yes,
did.
coming back to the house at 6, 7 a.m. because the routine in Spain and in Europe is you party at 1 a.m. If you get there at 10 or 11 p.m., you're too
between 1 and
early.
2. Yeah.
You get out at 5 or 6 a.m. You go have churros and breakfast and chocolate, and then you go to
You shower and then you go
and then
to
you-
class.
It's insane, right?
Yes.
It's insane, but that's part
Exactly.
of the experience.
So your first trip was Europe. You
It
chose
was.
Europe.
It was Europe.
So did I.
And it was thanks to my college education. I took out a loan to
wow.
pay for that trip. And I only took $1,000 that was going to last me the whole summer. And I said, these $1,000 have to last me
You
the whole
stretched
summer.
that out.
I stretched it out so much to the point where the last 2 weeks, I didn't have any money. So I just really was surviving by what the family was giving me, for breakfast and lunch and dinner. And that's the trip that also made myself realize that I was going to come back with money, and not only to window shop anymore, but to actually go in there and shop. That's the trip that made me realize, Zara's, you're too expensive for me right now, but I am going to come back one day.
And shop
and
at
I'm going to
Mango's.
buy suits.
Mango's,
I shop at
Zara,
Mango's.
Massimo
Mango's.
Dutti.
Oh,
Yes. And so
yes.
that's the trip that, I was a poor college kid, because a lo que iba a estudiar.
Yeah.
The partying was, I don't know how, I guess that's where my money went.
Yes, girl.
Because the feeding was at the house. But that's the trip that opened my eyes and said, you know what? I really want to travel the world, and I want to come back with money. Not rich, but I want to come
Right.
back with no limitations
Comfortable.
and live,
Yes.
travel
Yes.
comfortably and stay, maybe not at the Ritz, but at a 3-star hotel, right?
Yes.
So those first travels as a college student, sí te ayuda mucho a decir, I belong here, and I want to explore the world. It's
Exactly.
a beautiful world out there.
And work harder so
And
you can
work
travel
harder.
more.
That's right.
That's been my
Completely.
thing. It's like
Yeah.
work hard. My thing has always been traveling.
Mhm.
Ever since I was very young, even though I couldn't afford it, just Mexico. But
Yeah.
my first trip was also Europe.
Yeah.
And I did it with my cousin Jeanette and one of my best friends, Maggie, at the time. We were just so much into traveling. So our first trip was landing in London and then doing three European countries. So I didn't get to see London, sadly, but we landed in London and then to a connecting flight into Paris. We went to France first, and oh my God, it was everything plus.
Everything that you imagined.
Yes, I'm talking about my first trip because I've been there many times and I have better stories to talk about. But my first trip, I couldn't believe how wonderful and charming Paris was. It was everything that I ever dreamed of. So it was very exciting, and we were on a budget, of course. And back in the day, we did it through a travel agency.
Oh yes, I remember
Everything
those.
was so different, right?
Yeah.
Just everything was different. Traveling was actually fun. You could take things in your bag. Nobody cared about, after
Sizes,
9/11,
yeah.
everything changed.
Oh,
After
yeah.
9/11,
Sí.
everything changed.
It's
Where
more-
you couldn't even
yeah.
bring like a nail clipper.
Yeah.
And, like everything had to be small and
Mm-hmm.
the size of it just awful. But back in my first trip, I really got to experience the luxury of traveling. The airplanes served meals. It was very
Yes.
luxurious to travel.
Yeah.
Back
You
in
dressed
the time.
up.
You know what? You're
You dressed
right.
up?
I've noticed that.
Oh, yeah.
And people it was like it's a travel.
Wow,
I'm
it's a
gonna
travel.
go all decked up.
Mhm.
Mira,
Yeah.
Yo
Sí.
de East LA a Tijuana me fui toda guapa because
Uh-huh.
I'm traveling.
Yes.
I guess because we saw it in the movies, like the classic movies where
That's
people were
right.
dressed up.
Pan Am.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
Pan Am
Pan
was
Am.
a thing.
It was a
Yeah.
thing.
Everybody dressed up because
Yes, it
It
was.
They
It
did,
was.
and also that was the way. Think about
Yes.
it. They served you 3 meals. Now, what do they serve you?
Dude, they charge
Peanuts?
you.
They charge
And they
you.
charge you.
Well, if
They
you want a
might give you some
sandwich,
pretzels.
right?
Yeah.
Unless
little
you
pretzels.
travel,
te fue bien.
Yeah.
if you travel business or first class, well, yeah, they better.
Yes.
they
If you
better
travel
feed you.
Emirates and some
Oh,
of those
pues sí.
amazing, they still
Yes.
serve you some nice meals, and I
Yes.
love it. I just love
You
those
can book a
airlines.
shower. You can
book
actually
a
take a
shower,
shower
they
on
give you
Emirates.
socks.
Yes.
Okay, I've never.
So
I've
even
never
if you're
had
coach,
flatbed.
Yes.
they go all out for you, which is beautiful. So yes, definitely seek that out. Travel the world, people. But Europe for me was an eye opener. It was so much fun. We partied our asses off.
Yeah.
We went to France. We were all over, and of course, you know what's funny? We were into the landmarks for sure. We were like, racing to see the landmarks.
museums.
But our priority was to go and party our asses off.
Oh.
We were like the clubs. What
The
are the hot
clubs.
clubs? At that age, I was about
Yes.
21 or 22.
Oh, it's perfect.
It was
age.
all
age.
about partying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what's the next big party?
Yeah.
And that's when I realized how different it was, than the U.S. I thought
Yes.
everything ends at fucking 2 a.m.
You realize we're very boring. Well, at least in LA.
Totally
Yes.
lame. I'm
LA,
like, oh
what at
my
1 o'clock they
God.
start saying
Last call.
Last call. At
Last
1 o'clock
call,
we're told.
1:30.
Like 1:30.
1:15,
Yeah, yeah.
1:30 last
Last
call.
call
Ay,
for
but come
alcohol.
on.
Yeah.
That
It
was
sucked.
just part one.
I mean, there's other
true.
after
Come on,
parties.
that's
a
true.
restaurant. You really wanted
Come
the
on.
vibe.
But
you
it's
really
but
wanted
when
to
you
party.
think about it,
Yes.
when you compare it to the clubs in Europe,
No, es muy
it's
diferente.
like
Yeah.
at 1 o'clock it's
Right.
barely
Yes.
getting good
Yeah.
out there.
Yes.
In Europe, here it's like
Well, in
váyanse.
Madrid, I showed up I still remember at like midnight. Like I had dinner and then showed up at midnight.
You were too
and
early.
The manager and everyone
Estaban
inside,
barriendo.
they were laughing at us. Are you guys
Uh-huh.
from the U.S.? I'm like, yeah. How do you know? They're like, you guys are the only ones here right now. Go eat some tapas and come
Sí,
back at
sí,
2. I'm like,
sí.
what?
Yes.
Are you serious? Yeah. You already have your wristband on. That was at Joy's Lava, by the way. There, you have your wristband, go and then come back at 2. See you at 2. We're like, oh shit, we got to kill some more time. Okay, what do we hit? Right? So
Yeah.
we went to like a lounge, tapas
Yes.
bar. We met some people, came back to Joy. It was a
Sí.
blast. Also, I have to say, from there, we took an airplane to Ibiza.
Okay.
Oh,
That was
sí.
party time.
I
Oh
wanna
my God,
Yes.
Ibiza
to
was
Ibiza,
amazing.
Coma.
Yes.
I've been
It's
hearing amazing things.
incredible.
sí.
I went to the first shampoo discotheque.
Oh, yes.
Where they were, it started like at 2, went all the way to 10 a.m. And there was like literally, you went in your bikini if you wanted to.
Uh-huh.
And it's shampoo
Uh-huh.
just flying out,
Yep.
from these canisters, right? So it went up
The
to your
foam.
neck.
Yeah, it's like a
foam
foam
party.
party.
Yeah,
the
foam
foam
party.
parties.
They call it the shampoo somethings, the shampoo room or something. It was so amazing, so badass, so unique. So I did get to see a lot of really new things out in Europe
Yeah.
that I incorporated into my nightclub.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So
That's
you think
where-
that's where you were inspired?
I was completely inspired by like all the EDM underground music, and I
Yeah.
brought it down here, and just the diverse, artists and music and atmosphere, and it was all about the special effects, the lighting
Sí.
that I didn't get to see that much out here, like Europe, even like the dancers, the go-go dancers, and all that. It was
Yeah.
something to really.
Like what I liked about
experience.
Joy's Lava, which I had never been to a real club here. Because think about it, I went to Madrid when I was 20, and how old do you have to be here to go to a club?
Oh, yeah, 21.
That's another.
Which my first
difference.
club here was a Mayan, by the way.
Mhm.
But Joy's Lava, I had never been to a club, like a real club. And so when I see the show that they put on that stage
Oh,
con
yeah, the
toreros
show,
and
exactly.
half naked bodies and amazing
Very
bodies,
sexy.
to me, o sea, una niña de barrio, I was like, what in the world is this?
Wasn't it cool?
It's an experience.
Yeah.
Those clubs in
Wow.
Europe at that age, you're like, wow, I've been missing out.
That's right.
Is
You
this what
see
happens in
things-
LA?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Right?
And we don't have
Not
that.
only that, but the Spanish men. Got to mention that.
Yep.
Not bad. Right? Easy on the eyes. Very easy on the eyes.
I kept one for 3 years.
So did I. So
Did you meet him on your trip?
I did. I met him traveling abroad, and we were together for 3 years.
See the experience?
3 years.
Wow.
So wait, you met someone while you were in your first trip?
Yeah, studying abroad.
Wow.
I met someone, and we were together for 3 years. Yeah.
Mira.
So you can even meet potential boyfriends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you travel.
That's
right?
what it was.
The beauty of traveling.
Yes,
That's what it was.
so true.
I had a
So
little
you're single.
crush on one of those trips in Spain, pero no me hizo caso.
Aww.
I was like, no me hizo caso.
Oh, I know.
But just to have like someone with you. But
Yeah.
so you also have those heartbreaks. But I mean, now I think about it, I'm like, no, I'm glad I had fun with just everyone. Like just crazy girls, crazy guys, just exploring and dancing the night away.
I love that.
That's what it is.
I
You're just
love
meeting people. You want to be a part of, the people that live there. And so you would go out to bars, you go out to restaurants, and you start meeting people. And after I met him, like I was even more a part of that world.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of fun, and you just experience things a little differently, and you meet someone, you know what I mean? So you're day to day. I was there almost a year because of that, and then back and forth. But
back and forth. That's another thing is that when you meet someone,
and
forces you to go back.
It forces you to go back, right, over and over again, which is kind of cool.
But that's
I did that in
exciting.
Rome. Yeah.
Wow.
So I met someone in Rome, and then I kept going back to Rome.
Really?
There you go.
Yeah,
So Rome is one of my favorite cities. It's just so magical,
Yes.
beautiful, so much history there. The Vatican
Sí.
blew me away. I actually
I
got
love
to
Rome.
see a mass from John Paul.
Oh,
Second,
Wow.
I actually got tickets to that and
Papa
went.
Juan
And Papa
Pablo.
Juan Pablo. It was so amazing. I can't even tell you. I will never forget that day ever.
Wow.
I was actually inside, not inside the Vatican because the mass was held on the outside of the Vatican.
Yeah.
It was so packed. You had to have a ticket, and we were very lucky to get some tickets to
That
see
is
that.
amazing.
So that's
gosh.
it will always stay with me.
That is a treat.
It's such a treat, right? What about you, Dee? Like,
know.
what was your
My
first trip?
first trip solo, like without my parents and not in Mexico, was to Hawaii. So when I
Oh.
graduated from college, my friend Iris and I were like, let's go to Hawaii. So we booked through a travel agent like a 7 days to Oahu.
Oh, wow.
So, but it was like a big deal because I paid for it, and it was like a big deal. And I didn't take my boyfriend at the time. So it was like my first trip alone out of LA. And then obviously I grew up going to Mexico, and I'm very lucky. My dad really liked to travel through Mexico because he would get annoyed that his family wouldn't travel. They wouldn't leave the pueblo. And so whenever we would drive to Mexico, my dad always took the detour. So we never just went straight to the pueblo. My dad would go through Michoacan, and I went.
He wanted to explore.
He wanted to explore Mexico, and so I saw a lot of parts of Mexico that I couldn't even find on a map for you today. I mean, we just went to some amazing places. There was some like deserted beaches that I don't even remember. I was so young, like I didn't pay attention, and they weren't, like my dad just had like paper maps back then, and so.
But I think that's what made
I
you
love it.
Be more adventurous.
Yes.
I think your father instilled that
my
in
dad really liked to
right?
be adventurous, and my dad, I think I've mentioned this before. They had a travel trailer, so my dad would travel. They traveled all the way down to, I think like Veracruz in like on wheels, and it's great because you get to see other things that you don't get to see on an airplane.
Yeah,
But you
once
guys would
land.
make nice stops.
Yes,
Because my trips as a kid to Mexico, they were horrendous. They were miserable. My dad would drive 3 days nonstop.
Right.
And then he would stop during the day just to eat really quick and then to
at a
sleep.
gas station, right?
At a
Vaya
gas
al
station.
baño.
So
Go
I
to the
think so
bathroom.
you were in the back of the car, just boring.
And no phones, no
nada.
iPads, nada.
And I'd be throwing up all the way.
I see.
I hated my trips to Mexico. Once I got to Mexico, that was amazing.
Right.
But those travels, as a child in a car,
I had a different experience, and so I'm
horrible.
very lucky that I
You're
got to
very
do
lucky.
that. And then my next trip was because I also didn't have that opportunity. My parents also didn't push me to like travel anywhere else. It was like, vas a ir a Mexico? Ay, qué bueno. And they would totally encourage that. But it wasn't until I got married, because, that was a tradition. You get married and then you can travel with your man.
I know.
The Bahamas. That was like that was our honeymoon. That was my first other big trip.
Bahamas.
And then
But
Europe.
not
And now
solo,
I'm in
though.
love.
Now you're with your man, right?
Yeah, when I went to the Bahamas for my honeymoon. But then it was Europe. And then that's it. Now I'm
Yeah.
like in love with Europe.
Europe
so
is
much
so
that I want to
amazing.
move there
You
someday.
want to
Yes.
move there. You
Oh,
said
I
it. You want to do
love
Paris
Europe.
as
Yeah.
your home.
No,
No,
Italy.
Rome.
Italy,
Italy,
Rome.
yes.
Some,
Yeah, she
or
wants to-
somewhere in Italy. I just love Italy. But yeah,
Italy's
traveling
just
to
amazing.
Europe. I
Yes.
just love Europe. I love, Greece. And I went to Turkey last year. And so, yes, so I love Europe. And I just feel safer. I hate to say that when we're talking about safety.
Yeah.
I don't like going to Mexico anymore. I am scared. I know that people are going to say like, oh, it's safe and this and that. But I hear all the stories.
Same.
And I'm afraid of my children getting kidnapped, like what we talk about. I
Yeah.
remember when I would go to Mexico by myself as a teenager. My parents had friends in Mexico City. My tias and my parents would approve me getting on a bus
Sí.
from León or from Irapuato, Guanajuato to Mexico City on a bus by myself at 14, 15 years old. I would never in my
Yeah.
right
I
mind let
know,
my
I
child
know.
do that. So I just don't feel safe in Mexico anymore. But in Europe, I feel super safe.
But you know
Yeah.
what? It's just because I've had 3 scares, not in Mexico, like in other parts of the world. Right now, you mentioned Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing the TV junkets for those movies, there was a
Yep.
junket out in the Bahamas
Mhm.
once. And that experience was horrible. Traveling from LA to, I think, Florida, and then from Florida,
Nassau.
grabbing a small
Nassau,
plane.
right? Nassau.
That
Oh,
small
yeah.
plane to the Bahamas, Nassau,
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
was horrible.
Shaky.
Shaky.
Ah,
And then I land, and there's a storm going on.
I
And then
see.
the worst happens. My luggage didn't arrive.
Oh,
And you know those junkets?
Yeah.
You arrive, and the next day you got to
yes.
be on?
You gotta be
Yeah.
on.
Girl, I had to do the interviews with what I traveled.
Oh,
Ooh.
And mind you, it was just horrible because I lost my luggage.
Your makeup was
Um,
in there also? Most of
Todo,
it? Oh my
everything. I
God.
had no chones. I had no.
So you were crusty.
I was crusty. Toma.
oh yeah. Who were you interviewing?
La
I know.
pestaña, no tenía
Ay,
pestañas, no
They're
makeup.
like, ay, huele algo.
And exactly.
all the
eso?
humidity, all that
Oh
sweat
my
in the
God.
Bahamas.
Stinky RG. But the point is, that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that when they picked me up from the airport, it was local men.
Oh yeah.
So it was 2 men that didn't speak English. So here I am in this van.
Oh.
It's like 11 p.m. I have no luggage.
In a van.
I don't have a
scary.
phone because I don't think I had a phone like today. I don't remember. And I don't know where they're taking me. So my heart was pounding and my mind started to work saying,
Yeah.
right now, these 2 men could kidnap me,
Mm-hmm.
slaughter me, do whatever they want to do, and nobody
Yeah.
will find out.
Yeah.
Yo todo el camino, I was praying, Diosito, Virgencita. I was praying and I was crying, please get me to the hotel safe. I don't care if I lost my luggage.
Yes.
I was very scared.
Yeah.
I was extremely scared in that one trip. That trip to me will always be like a bad memory. I want to go back to the Bahamas
Yes.
to enjoy it,
Yeah.
but when I think about danger and how I feel like God did save me, and I don't know.
Oh,
It's horrible.
I think we were scaring people from traveling.
No.
My
no.
God.
I know.
Between
But you have
the
those stories.
cartel and all
I
that.
know.
Oh my God. No, I have not had those experiences,
No.
guys.
It's
Good.
like
No.
everywhere. It just depends where you go.
Yeah.
It depends how safe you are. It depends the places that you're entering. Like when we go to San Juan and we go to Mexico, I'm not going to all of these like super, hot spots.
Yeah.
There are
stay
hot spots.
away.
You know, if people see all over the world what's happening, in LA right now, they're not going to want to travel
LA
to
has
LA.
hotspots.
There's just
You're
a
not going
lot
to go
of-
into South Central.
Yeah.
There's danger, more danger
Oh my
here.
God, there's like
Yeah.
burglaries happening just even in our neighborhood. So.
Yes.
I mean, it happens everywhere. I will say that when I do go to San Juan and when we do go to San Miguel de Allende, which was one of the most beautiful
know.
places, it's literally magic.
It is
It's a magic
magical.
town for a reason, but it's magic. But you go to these places in Mexico and then, you go to the beach, the beach
Yeah.
resorts. That is, that's super safe.
It's so
Super
funny that you
safe.
say that. I actually feel safer in the bigger resort
resorts.
towns and even
Right.
Mexico City now. I
Yeah.
feel safer in Mexico City
Love Mexico
than I
City.
do where my family's from.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I feel like I'm a target. Like you said, they know you're not from
Well, yeah,
the
because
town.
even if you dress
so I
down-
feel like a target there versus if I go to Mexico City, which is now like considered one of the top places to travel in the world.
I think anywhere we go, they're always going to know that we're tourists.
Yeah.
The locals are always going to, even in San Juan.
Even in
Even
Rome,
Even in
San Juan,
Istanbul,
Rome, in
we were
Istanbul,
walking and
yes.
they're like, ¿Qué onda, güey? Like, I'm like, wait, how do you know I'm Mexican?
You're like, I'm trying to blend in.
They speak Spanish everywhere. So yeah, they know that you
Yeah.
are, not a
tourist.
tourist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
for sure. You know, when I'm with my family, I mean, I don't know that they can necessarily see when we're over there because all my family, we look very similar. But but yeah, it just depends where you go, what you do. You still have to be smart about it. You still have to use your brain. You know what I mean?
Common
you have
sense.
to make and that's
right all over the world. I agree.
Yeah.
It's all over the world.
When I'm in Paris, I still hold my purse a little tighter.
The pickpocketers over there, right?
Oh,
You just have to worry. And the trains and all that. Be smart about it because something did happen to us in Rome. So we were so happy to be in Rome, first time ever. We were super like naive, right? I still remember we bought traveler's checks because we're like,
that was a thing.
Back then.
That was a thing, right?
That was a thing.
And then my friend Maggie, who traveled with us, I still remember she said, right now that we're gonna go shopping, I'm taking everything with me. And I go, but why? There's a safe in the hotel.
Yeah.
She says, no, I heard that the hotel safes are not safe. That the cleaning people come in here, they rob you. And I go, really? I didn't hear about that. I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna take my passport. I'm going to leave it in the safe. So I just took enough money for that day.
Yes.
She took all of her money and her passport and everything valuable in her little sash, right? Well, somebody slashed it at one of the shops. Somebody bumped into her then because they come in and like a team.
The way they do it is insane.
They're experts. So they slashed the bottom. Everything came out. And then we didn't even realize it until we were outside. She's like, oh my God, they took everything. We saw the cut on the bottom of her little pouch. They took her passport.
Oh my God.
We were so lucky that our drivers that took us from the airport to our hotel, they fell in love with us. Okay. So they're like, ciao, ciao. Like they were just following us around after that. Waiting for us in the front of the hotel every morning. I'm like, oh my God, is that Marco, the driver? Ciao, Mindy. I'm like, wow. Thank God we kept their card because guess who saved the day? They did. They had connections at the embassy.
Oh.
So she got her passport within hours.
See, that's why it's good to meet locals. It's good to meet locals.
Thank you. It's good to have connections. Yes. I'm telling you, talk to people.
Yes.
Get to know the locals because they can save you. They can help you. And they're always there to help you too. Yeah. So we got super lucky. And then we said, okay, well, you got your passport back. We will pay for the rest of the trip. We're going to be on a tighter budget now, right? We can't do all those fancy restaurants, but we're going to make it through. We're not going to let this dampen this fucking trip.
I know.
We've saved for a year for this fucking trip, right? It took a lot to save. It was like on a layaway plan. I'm not even joking. Through a travel agent, I still remember every month making like a, $150, $200 payment for that freaking ticket. But it felt so good to finally do it on your own.
Exactly.
Right?
It was amazing.
And for us, we were late bloomers. Europeans do it different. They travel the world as a young age with their families.
Look at all the countries around. That's why when we go from here to there, it's you have to do the Eurail pass, right? So you can get to know
for
all
us,
these
it's 12 hours to get over there. For them, it's like going to San Francisco. You're in a different country.
And they jump on like their little regional airlines, which is like the equivalent of Southwest for us. They just travel like, my friends in Rome, they're like, oh, we're just going to go to Paris for the weekend, and it's like
nothing.
But they're there in 2 hours.
Not only that, but Europeans get
€200 round trip.
Not only that, Europeans get a month from work?
Yeah.
We get 2 weeks
in August.
Measly
They get all of August off.
The sad part. That so many people want to travel, but then you're like, okay, like for example, in our case, I can only travel twice a year. And look at the rest of the year. What are we doing? We're working, right? So what we do is we try to do a big trip in the summer, and then the more of a leisure trip at the end of the year, which is like resort, playa, don't do anything, scratch your belly, drink margaritas all day. That's the kind of trip we want to do at the end of the year to kind of like disconnect, recharge, reboost, reset. But during the summer, we like to do the big trips. But then you think about it, you're like, you work all year just for that one big trip that's only going to be like less than 2 weeks because you got to take away the days that you travel.
Yeah,
that eats
24
up
hours.
so much of your travel. And,
yes.
and it's so sad because you save up and you're like, you only get it twice a year.
You only get it
and
twice
other people
a year.
in the world, like you were saying, get to do it so often.
And this is what I noticed about Europe. And this is why I say traveling is the best thing to do. I noticed that they live their life so differently in Europe. And that's what I really appreciated and loved. I'm like, look at them. I'm waving at them to get my bill. Right.
Yeah.
And they're just taking their sweet time because they don't have drive-throughs like out here. Everything's in a rush out here in the US. You go to Europe and they know that you are from the US because they're like, slow down, miss.
It's true. People don't eat on the streets.
Slow down.
They stop to eat.
They stop to eat and they sit and they enjoy that coffee. I mean, they really know how to take life in and enjoy and savor that time.
Yes.
What is it?
It's just beautiful.
You work to live. You don't live to work.
And that's the
That's what I
Yeah,
learned.
and that
The
is the
European way.
difference.
It's
Yes.
beautiful.
Here
That is
we
the difference
live
that
to work.
matters.
Save money to go get your fix of traveling for 2 weeks. And then you're like, that's not enough.
Right.
It's not enough.
And we're also just rushing. Think about it. I'm stressed out just packing to enjoy 7, 10, 12 days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you're
Exactly.
just rushing all the
Yeah.
way down to the line.
I
Racing.
know.
You know, it's just so we live so differently. And that's why I think it's so important that if you do live in the US, get out to another country and see the way they live.
See?
You're gonna learn a lot.
So
And it could be
inspiring.
Latin America. I really want to do Latin America. The only thing I know about Latin America is Costa Rica, which I did
Never
with
been.
Omar.
I heard it's amazing.
Costa Rica
It's
is amazing.
beautiful.
One
Me
of
neither. I've
my
never been either.
favorite
Never
trips
been.
in Latin America. Costa Rica, pura vida.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love it.
And
My kid's
it was
favorite place.
jungles, forests. Well, nature at its best.
Bugs?
Yeah.
A lot.
Big bugs, big bugs.
See,
Shit,
big
that's the
bugs.
first thing I asked, bugs.
And earthquakes because of the volcanoes.
Yeah.
But that's part of they're just used to. You see your coffee shake in the morning, and the waiters are like, "Oh, that's normal." And you come
It's
from
the
LA,
volcano.
and you're like, "It's the volcano
Yeah.
rumbling." But yeah, that's one of the things let's talk about that. Like, what is on your bucket list? Like, that's one thing I would like to explore more. Because Europe, thank God, thanks to my college trip where I said I would be back, I've been back.
Many times.
Thank God, many times with my mom, with my best friends, and that was a whole different experience going to Barcelona and all
love
the
it.
French Riviera with my college girlfriends. Different experience, kind of what you did, and then obviously with my sisters. But World Cups, I've done World Cups. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would travel so much later on
Germany.
in
You
life.
did the Germany World
Did
Cup,
the Germany
right?
one, did the
Amazing.
Russia one, which I never thought I would go to Russia.
Wow.
That's another thing.
Good thing you went.
Places.
When you went.
Yes.
Good
Yes.
thing, I gotta thank my husband for that one. I always said Russia, never in my life. Cold, politics. It just
Yeah.
seems no se me antojaba.
Putin. Ugh.
I was so wrong.
Or as I call him, Putin.
Puto. I'm just kidding.
El Putin.
I was so wrong, girls. Russia is beautiful.
is, it
Thanks.
is.
And
Yeah.
also, it did help that it was a World Cup energy and
course.
environment. No, but just aesthetically, just discovering those palaces. One place I would want to go back to is St. Petersburg. I feel like it wasn't enough time to explore St. Petersburg. Amazing castles, amazing theater, amazing food. So I was so wrong about Russia because of the things that we see on TV or hear on the news or whatnot.
Yes.
But I was so happy that I did Russia more than the World Cup just to get to know Russia on a different light.
Oh,
Would I go back to Russia like Moscow? I don't think so. But St. Petersburg, I would. But before going back to a second, the second time, why not explore a different place?
Yes.
Like there's this quote that I read once that said, don't go to the same place twice when you can go and explore a new place. And I would want to do Argentina. I would want to do Peru, which is on my bucket list, Machu Picchu.
And that's
on your
why
bucket list.
Brazil.
I would
Okay.
never get one of those timeshares for that reason because I
Yes.
don't want to be stuck going to the same
Resort
place
over and
every
over.
Well, I have a
year.
timeshare,
Yeah.
but it's only to force me to go back to the beach that I like, which is
Okay.
Cancun.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, I would say stay away from
Or
it.
like a vacation
because there's
home,
always
I would
new
never buy
resorts
it.
with new
Yeah.
amenities.
Yes.
But if you're gonna do a timeshare, it's because you truly love that place to relax.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
disconnect.
And you can afford to travel there and other places throughout the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't. I
Yeah.
would never buy a vacation home. I would rent
Yeah.
one. I don't like if
Yeah.
I can afford for the year. That
Yeah.
I would definitely do a vacation home rental, but I would never buy one. But
there are
you're stuck buying her.
It's true. But there are vacations and then there's trips.
exactly.
Right. Vacations, you go to relax.
That's
you
what I'm
know, and you're
saying.
just really not really exploring.
Yeah,
No,
you're
you
not.
just want to
You
do
are
nothing.
Disconnecting.
Do nothing besides
Right?
reading, getting pampered, eating galore.
That's right.
Sleeping in, staying
And usually
out.
I don't know what that's
vacations
like.
are without your kids.
I was gonna say there's a difference.
Yeah.
Vacations and kids, and it's different now.
Yeah, because packing with kids. It's
now that they're
stressful.
older, it's different. But when they're
Oh,
they're
yeah.
little, it's a circus.
And guess who did it?
Yeah, we did.
The
It's a
moms.
circus, traveling with kids, just making sure that you pack everything for them, everything for you, all of the things that you haven't even thought of, making sure that they're okay to travel,
And they never appreciate it.
No,
Oh,
They don't remember
my
that
God.
either.
They don't
Tell me
remember
about
that.
it.
And
When
then,
they're
and then
little.
you're finally relaxing. Okay, you finally made it to the beach. The kids are in the pool. The husband is at the bar bringing you the drinks. And then dinner time's at 8, which means I got to get back into the room by 5:30 or 6 to shower the kids, get the kids ready, shower me.
Yes.
Because it's a process. It's so you're like,
and then
okay,
the 8 o'clock
really?
dinner, the kids are tired. They don't want to eat what's at the
See.
restaurant. And
See,
you're
see,
like, this
see.
is not enjoyable.
But then you look at the pictures.
And you're like,
Then you look at, you're like, we had a great time, right?
Exactly.
That's what it is.
See, our
No, it's
memory
so weird.
erases those
Yeah.
bad
It's true.
times.
I mean,
right?
I would
You
still
only
do it all
remember
over
the
again.
Right,
If
right,
I
right.
could turn back time, I would still do that all over again. But you're right, Janet, because now it's so easy to travel when they pack themselves. Even though I still give them a list. You need 3 dress outfits. You need shorts. Like I still give them like a guide, and I make them lay everything on their bed so that before they actually pack it in, there comes mommy to make
Yes.
sure they fulfill. Because I don't want to be out there. Mamá, se me olvidaron los calcetines and the calzones. No, come on, girl. I told you.
Or-
so I make sure I go
yeah.
through that checklist before they
Last
pack.
year when we went to Europe, Athena wanted to wear her cutoff shorts, and I was like, "No, girl, we're going to Europe. Like, I don't want you to look like you're American." I was
Yeah.
like, "No cutoff shorts in Istanbul, no cutoff shirt." You know, I was like,
Right.
"You got it." Just like you said, like
Yeah.
you teach them,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of teaching our kids too, how to travel,
Yeah.
how to look nice, how to look,
Yes.
how to act.
And one of my pet peeves when I travel is when somebody stands out like a sore thumb with their stupid chancla, those hiking sandals,
Birkenstocks.
and a
Socks.
backpack
Yes,
and some cargo shorts.
That will never
I'm
be
like,
me.
oh my
That will
god,
never
are you
be
kidding
me.
me?
No,
Yeah.
Like
no,
at least try
no.
to blend in a little, right? So
No.
what I do is I go into Pinterest, I go watch
Yeah.
videos of like
Yes.
how do the locals dress, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and I don't want to look like a
You're not gonna
freaking
no.
tourist. I want to blend in. and
I
like,
would
go
love
with
to
the
say
whole
that I
look.
want to look pretty in my dresses when I'm walking through the streets of Rome, but I have kids. I'm a single
Yes,
mom
yes.
walking with 2 kids. I gotta
You
worry
gotta wear
about
your flats.
water bottles. So
See.
yeah, I wear
Yeah.
flats, and
Yeah.
sometimes I do just have to wear the backpack because
But you still look cute
I
though. I've
have
seen
like
you.
sweaters and
Yeah.
I have water bottles and snacks and passports, and I'm the one carrying everything, so I have
know.
to carry a backpack. I'm
Oh,
a
me
single
too.
mom
Me
with
too. Me
2
too. And I
kids.
still, but I'm saying
And a
there's
stroller.
a difference between a massive backpack, like
Yeah.
you're gonna go camping,
And
that
a
somebody-
cute backpack.
or a cute
Yeah,
little
well,
backpack.
I try to make it
right?
cute. I try to make it cute,
Yes,
but
you
this is
do.
just to be practical, like because as a
Yes.
mom. But if I
Yes.
was going as a single woman,
well,
hell
that's
no!
a whole
Excuse me.
That's a different story,
Yes.
right?
I
That's
want to wear the
different
cute
ways to travel.
dresses and the heels and everything walking through the Amalfi Coast, of course. But
Oh, I make
I
sure I
try.
go shopping before I go travel to Europe. Because
Yeah.
I want to make sure that those pictures look damn good.
yes.
You know,
Or you
like-
travel in Europe. That's another
shop
thing.
in
You
Europe.
Shop there.
Shop there.
Leave a little bit of space in your
Yes.
That is
luggage
true.
and actually buy some items
Same.
there. So you
Yes.
could have something
Oh,
to
I
talk about and
love
bring back home.
Bringing
I mean,
back those souvenirs.
are
I
you
call them
kidding me?
souvenirs.
Europe
I call
has
them
the best
souvenirs.
shopping,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
You go to Italy, you have to buy a pair of shoes.
Forget the fucking magnet
I
and
know.
the
Fuck
keychain.
that.
No, bring
You
all
go to
the
Turkey,
sweater,
you get a rug.
purse, you bring
Yeah,
something
wait,
Bring
wait.
jewelry.
Europe.
I want to talk about Turkey and Janet's experience
Yes.
and everything you brought us back.
Oh my goodness.
Tell me you brought us back some Chanel bags, some Dolce Gabbana bags.
No,
We're not gonna
no,
talk
no.
about
You know
those
what?
bags.
No, you know what? Turkey was a trip that I never thought I would go to, and we went because we went to a wedding.
Mhm.
It was honestly the most magical fairy tale wedding. I think it was at a palace
Mhm.
in Istanbul. The bride and the groom were just, cake toppers. They were just beautiful
Gorgeous.
people inside and out. The families, everything. It's just we had the time of our lives. Just a sightseeing, the history. You're just driving down the street and you
Those
see modern
mosques.
buildings and
Oh.
buildings that have stood, there
The test of
thousands of
time. I
years.
mean,
Like it's
incredible.
just the most beautiful place.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have food, you have art, you have the most
Nightlife.
amazing
You were telling us about the
nightlife.
nightlife.
Oh my gosh, we got on a boat and they
A
took
yacht.
us.
That was not a
yacht.
boat. That was a freaking yacht.
Yacht
girl.
And
galore.
they drove us up straight into the club.
That's
we spilled out
crazy.
into the club
That's
from
how
the
they do it.
Ah.
It's
So had it
just
not been for this
magical.
wedding,
No, I
you
would
would have never
gone.
considered.
No, I never had that as a
Ay,
bucket
pero
list
todas las
item.
mamás mexicanas, they all want to go to Turkey these
I know my
days.
mom.
My
My mom
mom is
wanted to go.
obsessed with Turkey right
Thanks to
now.
novelas.
Obsessed. Las telenovelas.
Me dice mi mamá, a ver si te encuentras los turcos por allá. And I'm like, yeah,
Oh my God, my mom is totally always always on YouTube, ay, mira, este actor es de Turquía, pero
I
salió en la
know.
novela
Turquía.
Por Mi Hijo or something like that. I don't know. My mom
The
is
soap
obsessed
opera.
But
with
you know what?
Turkish.
There has
men.
been an increase of tourism from Latinos, Mexicanos to Turkey because of the novelas.
Well,
Thanks to
and
novelas,
yes.
really.
You know, but that's what
yeah.
it is about bucket lists. You see these beautiful photos or videos now, especially with Instagram. You see these people traveling to these places all over the world that you might have never thought
Yeah,
of before because
exactly.
we didn't travel when we were kids.
Yeah.
Our kids are traveling. Our kids are doing
But
things
we didn't do
differently.
that.
We
Oh,
didn't
yes.
do
Yeah.
that. And so we're adding things to our own bucket list that we're getting to experience and that we want to experience.
Exactly.
You know, Machu Picchu. I went to Argentina, but Machu Picchu is something that I've always wanted to do.
Yes.
The Maldives. Hello. Like
Been there.
you
Oh,
went.
yeah.
Yes,
Been there.
you went.
So the world is so
yes.
big, humongous, and we
Yeah.
have to get out there. One thing that I never thought I would do, a destination another one that I was like, ni por aquí, was Alaska.
Yeah.
Alaska. Disney cruise.
Mhm.
One thing that I always said, I'm never gonna get on a boat ever and
Oh,
go explore the
yes.
world on a boat. I don't want to be in a
Yes.
cruise ship. It is scary. To me, it was about knowing that you're out in the open and it's so massive and you're sleeping like below water. I don't know what it is, maybe because I don't know how to swim in an open ocean.
Oh, okay.
So I always said no cruises, no cruises, no cruises. But thanks to a
Same.
good friend of mine that convinced us to go to Alaska, that sparked an interest. I'm like, okay, I get to see glaciers for the girls, right? For the girls were younger. They were like maybe 10 and 8, I want to say. And then it was a Disney cruise. So I said, when am I going to do a Disney cruise? Well, it's got to be now, even though
Yes.
I realize that a lot of people
Yeah.
that are older, when they're seniors, when they're retired, they actually do Disney cruises because they just love the Disney
Yeah.
experience.
Mhm.
But I will always thank those friends because had it not been for that cruise, I would have never seen a glacier. Alaska is gorgeous. Would I go back? I don't know. But just the fact that it was an experience, and I guess that's what we're trying to teach our kids, right?
Yes.
I always tell the girls, I cannot buy you that. I cannot buy you this because I'm saving money for an experience. Travel is an experience. It's education. It opens your mind. It opens your heart. It opens you just the need for wanting to discover more. I think it's
Yes.
the best investment we can make besides
Oh, I love
education.
I
that.
really believe that.
Traveling
So-
is the best investment we can make on ourselves and not feel guilty about it.
Absolutely.
Ever.
That's right.
Ever, ever.
I love that my older one, Athena, she loves Europe now. Now
Oh,
she's
that's
like, can we go to Europe
wonderful.
every year? And I'm like, if mommy can save enough money, yes, we
Yeah.
can. I was like, I will gladly take you to Europe.
See?
So I'm
And
taking my
same
daughter
thing.
to Europe.
I know. I love that.
You guys are ahead of the game with me with traveling with your kids to Europe, but I'm taking my daughter who just turned 15. She didn't want a quinceañera. She says, no, Mom, that's not really me.
I love that.
It's not my style, you know,
Mhm.
to do that. And it's just 5 hours of enjoyment and dancing around with people. I just want to go see the world.
I love
Take
that.
me to Europe, Mom. So I surprised her with the trip to Paris.
Love it.
So I can't wait to come back and
Yes.
talk about it. But Paris has always been on her mind since she was a little girl. Her bedroom was Paris themed for a
Oh,
couple
cute.
years.
Yeah,
Paris.
yeah.
So now we're watching Emily in
in
Paris.
Paris.
Oh,
Of course.
yes.
And living vicariously through Emily. I'm like, wow, this is
Her
amazing.
fashion,
Just her fashion, everything.
everything.
I know it's a little exaggerated because people don't really dress like that
Right,
every day.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought I'm gonna hit some of those Emily in Paris locations.
Yes.
Locations.
And
yes.
you know, and I just honestly the reason I work so hard
Mhm.
is to have enough money to travel and show my
Mhm.
daughter the world.
And she's at a
That's
great
my
age.
goal.
She's
Same.
gonna remember this trip.
She's at a perfect age now.
Forever. My little one, Sienna, when she was turning 5, this was 2 years ago, she was like, I wanna go to Paris because she was watching Fancy
Right.
Nancy.
How cute.
So I was like, you want to go to Paris? Okay, mommy wants to go to Paris too. So yeah, so we went to Paris. We went to Paris for 5 days, and Athena had never been. So that was a great trip for me and the girls. It was just me and the girls who went. So it was a great mommy and me trip.
Oh, I love that.
And they still remember it.
Yeah.
And they loved it. So
But I love that you bring that up
excited.
because now is a time. Yes, the first trips they don't remember a lot. So we travel lightly to the beaches and stuff. But I always told them, let's save the big trips when they already have that recollection for life, right? So now
Yes.
we make them a part of the conversation. Like, where are we traveling this year? We want to hear your opinion. We want to hear your opinion. So as a family, we decide, you know, Camila wants to do Tokyo. Annabella wants to do Paris again because she's in love with Paris. They already did it. But still, it's having them be a part of the planning.
And that's a very good point to bring them along. So for
Yes.
Alexa, it's like, you know, I want you to do your research. I want you to tell me where you want to visit.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
What
She has a list. Yeah.
Yes, and
beautiful.
that way it gets them into that mode where they're moving, they're making these trips for themselves, and they're figuring out how to plan trips. So it's literally bringing the history books
and they're
to life.
learning
She's
before
learning
they
a few
even
words.
get there.
She's learning a few words in French.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
So, we watch a lot of Emily in Paris, and, they talk in French.
Yes,
a lot.
yes.
So we, enchanté, bonjour,
Yes.
all that. So she's like, oh my gosh, I'm saying it with the correct accent.
Yes.
So that's
Oh,
also beautiful to
cute.
explore like the different languages. It's beautiful to know more than one language.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I want to instill that in her. That adventure of wanting to see different countries and cultures and taste different foods. I told her already, be ready for a whole different culinary experience with food. Be open to it.
Yes.
You might be eating some duck over there. You might be eating some,
snails.
Not be that
some
picky.
snails.
Escargot.
Yeah,
right?
that's the beauty of it. You gotta
Yes.
try it.
You gotta try
when
it
in
still.
Rome, that's
Yes.
that's the whole saying. When in
That's
Rome,
right.
you
When
do
in
what
Rome.
they do, right? Haz lo que vieres.
And
a
one of
donde
the
fueres.
some advice that I give people, I never wanted to do a cruise either. I was like, ew, a cruise and you're stuck on a ship.
But I'll
and
never do it
this and
again.
that.
D.
Really?
Did it once.
Oh.
Loved that it was Disney. Loved that it was the girls
See,
at a young
I don't
age.
want to go on a Disney cruise.
But
pero
I
bueno.
don't. But I don't want to do a cruise ever again. I was.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. But that's me.
But you know what? When you're with your kids, and I was by myself, I didn't have anybody. I didn't travel with friends.
It's
I didn't
okay.
travel with anybody. It was kind of nice because I would take the girls out. We'd see, whatever Istanbul. Istanbul, we were there overnight. They did have an overnight itinerary on this one. But it's nice. We went. We saw, and then it was so hot. You bring the kids back in. We shower. We have dinner, and we're all there. Ya estás allí, and
It's
they move you to the
convenient.
next
I guess
country,
it's
the next
convenient
city.
for some people, but I mean, no me
So,
funcionó. I
but
don't
yes.
like being timed. I don't
Yes.
like being okay. You
Be
guys
back.
after you have to be back.
I agree.
I hate
but you know what?
that.
Me dejó, now that I've been to Istanbul, I want to go back. That's what I like about a cruise. For somebody who hasn't been to those countries.
It's a little taste.
It's
of
a
the
little
country.
taste
And I
of-
don't want the taste. I
Yeah.
want actually like
The meal. You want the
full
full
I want
meal.
the full meal.
Yes.
Like if I'm going
Yeah.
to go to Greece, I want to be 3 days in Greece and not
Right.
3 hours in Greece or 6.
Yeah.
And
I
I think,
understand
and
that.
I mean, but I'm glad I did it. I discovered that it's not for me.
I understand.
And
that.
I've heard of
Got it.
amazing cruises that do the whole Baja California, and they go end up, in,
Oh, yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah.
And I see the point, but to me, it's like, no, I want to stay there and live the experience,
Yes.
live with the just
Yes.
get involved with the locals. I just don't like to be on the clock.
It's
I
not for everyone.
100%.
It's
I
just not-
100%
I've
agree
never
with you.
done a ship.
I've never done
either.
a cruise either.
Never
Yeah.
done it
Yeah.
because I heard some stories. But
Yeah.
lately, I've been hearing good stuff. I've been
Yeah.
hearing
Well, the
nothing
one
but
cruise that I
positives.
would do is Alaska because you get to see the glaciers from
Yes.
the
That
water
was
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad
So
I
I
did
would
that.
want to experience that.
We got to see a glacier. I
Yeah.
mean, they're melting, so
Right.
we'll never forget that, you know.
Yeah.
But even Alaska, stopping at certain key cities where it was like you're here for 2 hours. It was, to me, it wasn't enough. But you know what? People even live on cruises. Have you heard
yeah.
about
Oh,
that?
It's cheaper.
yes,
People
yes.
say it's cheaper.
Retirees.
Yeah.
A lot of
Uh-huh.
retirees live
That's
on
crazy,
ships.
huh?
Yeah.
I
What a
know.
life! But
But
you
yeah.
get to know places. I like that.
What are
Off-season.
some of our travel tips or travel like must-haves that to go on, on your next destination?
Your next destination.
Must
Yes.
haves, like in our bag,
In your bags or something that you've learned along the way that you need to have with
Oh,
you.
definitely do your research. I
Okay.
mean, time is so limited that you can't just go there and wing it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
have to do
Plan
your
it.
research. Like I know you're going to Paris with your daughter. I'm actually we're taking my mom to Paris next year.
Oh,
Even though
that's
she's already been to Paris,
wonderful.
and I took her
She
to Europe
really
the very
loved it,
first
right?
time, and that was an
She
amazing
loved it.
time. But
Yeah.
because she loved it so much, now she wants to go during the spring.
Wow.
So we're all
that's
going to take
awesome.
her for her birthday and celebrate her 70 years, which I think is one of the best
Aw.
things we can do for our parents, like you were
Yes.
saying, Diana.
Travel.
But I say definitely do your research, especially if you're going back to the same place.
Mhm.
Now that you know what to hit first.
Yeah. Where to
and
stay.
not waste time just pajareando. What do we do today? No, time is of essence. This is expensive. So do your
Yes.
research. When I travel with my best friend, she traveled with the book. Now we don't need that.
Yeah.
right?
Now we go online.
But definitely do your research and have an outline, like
Yeah.
what places, restaurants to hit. Like ask
And
friends.
ask your friends.
Okay, so
Yes.
here is a tip on top of what you just said,
Mhm.
which I've discovered that I absolutely love. So you have Google Maps.
Yeah.
There is a section on there called guides. So if you, for example, the mosques or whatever it is, all of the travel destinations, including restaurants that you want to go to,
Right.
you can pin them and save them onto the guides. So when you go back to that city, you can see exactly where they are. So then you can cluster
See.
your trip around
like that.
those sites.
I
I
love
gotta
that.
do
You
that
can
for Paris.
physically see
That is
them.
awesome.
And then that way you're just like, oh, how far away are they from one another?
Yes.
This way you see it exactly the way it's laid out on the map. You can see your route You can see where you're going to eat. You can
I
see
like
where
that.
it's so that has been a lifesaver. So I have guides for every city that I visit, and I download the map. So if you download the map on Google Maps of the city that you're going to, it doesn't matter if there is satellite. This is also for safety. You will be able to move around and be guided because the map is downloaded on your phone.
And I love that you're keeping note of all that because that's something good for your friends.
Yeah,
you can share that with friends,
that.
like
The guides.
restaurants you go to, even if it's a little cafe you walked into, or you went to a really clean bathroom as you were walking out of this place or whatever. Those are great little notes that you can get to share with your friends. Like you were asking me about Paris,
yes.
and I'm like, oh my god, all those things I have like my little in my notes on my phone, like where we ate, if we liked the food, if a waiter that we had or something. I like to write all that down and share it.
Talking about restaurants, you're going to Paris.
Yes.
I'm going to Paris again in spring.
I'll bring
God
you the
willing.
list.
But this is the thing. If you know that you want to go to a very special restaurant and it needs reservations, as soon as you know that you're going there, make the reservation.
Oh, yes.
For example,
Yes.
the restaurant, the Eiffel Tower. Like you have to do it. But
Oh,
guess what? You
yeah.
can't just show up. You have to make a
No.
reservation months. So if I know I'm going to Paris in April, well, I better start already making that reservation because how many tables are there and how many tourists are there?
Yes.
And it happened to me in New York. You know, I wanted to go have breakfast at Tiffany's. Well, guess what? I couldn't because I didn't make the reservation 6 months ahead of time or even 3 months ahead of time.
Yeah.
So then you're like bummed, like, oh, I made the trip out of New York and I didn't go to that restaurant.
Yeah.
You got to make reservations early, even.
Yes.
Planning. You got to
Yes,
plan.
you got to plan. I have some really good tips also because I've done a lot of traveling. So one of the biggest things that I've learned because I've traveled a lot is travel light. Don't overpack.
That's a hard one.
It's hard, but I'm telling you, you end up suffering.
I
And plus,
know.
sometimes you go to these beautiful countries where you want to bring back stuff,
Yes.
and you don't have any freaking room. Now you can, of course, buy another tote and fill that up, but it's so expensive.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's an extra luggage. That's one tip. The second tip is, let's see.
I'm going to hold you right there.
Yes.
Crazy story. When we went to Russia, because we were going to be traveling so much from city to city because of the World Cup games that were all scattered all over Russia.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Omar gave us a rule and I suffered so much, but I managed it. He said, 1 luggage per person, carry on.
Sorry.
1 luggage per
think I can
person,
handle
carry
that.
on. It was the hardest thing ever. But then again, it was summertime. So everything that I
care.
took was so light. I don't know how we did it, but Camila had her carry-on, Annabella had her carry-on, I had my carry-on, and he had his carry-on, and we did it. And like you said, you shop around, but we did it. It was so hard,
Wow.
but we did it. I
Yeah,
mean,
That's
we were
when you're
wearing
moving,
Travel
but
light.
that's when you're moving from one
Yes.
place to another. We got to the same hotel. We
Yeah.
stayed there. Girl, I didn't take a carry-on. I took
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
we were going for a wedding
Well,
and we're going
your
out
gown.
to dinners and you
Yeah.
have
And it,
So
if it's
we
winter,
had-
of course you're gonna
Yes.
take all this thick
no,
clothes.
it wasn't
Yeah.
winter. It's still very warm.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it just depends how you're going to travel, and
So,
it goes
yeah.
back to planning. If you're going to be moving from one city to another, especially when you're going to places that have pebble, cobblestone
yeah. Oh,
streets,
yes.
you're going to have
Yeah.
to travel light.
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
you
if
have
you're
to.
going straight into a hotel, girl,
Oh,
take
yeah,
as
the
much
hotel
as you
way-
want
yes.
as you can afford. You know what I mean?
Another big tip.
So true.
Another big tip is hire a photographer. That's what
Oh,
I've been
yes.
doing.
That's a
I
great
hire a
tip.
local photographer. I book them through Airbnb experiences. I go into the country and then it gives me 10, 15 different local photographers.
Yes.
And it's super
I've been
affordable.
seeing that a
So
lot.
all the pictures that you see on my Instagram that
Uh-huh.
look professional in different countries, those were all taken by professional local
Wow.
photographers.
Yeah,
that
and
I
you can
booked.
see their work usually on Instagram
you
too,
can
so
see
you can
their
kind of
work.
vet them.
And you know what? The beauty of this is because those photographers know the city so well
Yes.
that they take you to
the right angles.
Well, not only the angles, they know the landmarks. So,
Locations.
so they usually give you a list of all the 10 landmarks. Pick 3 that you want to go to. You get to choose them. They take you. They tell you all about the history
Yes.
while they're driving you there.
Yeah.
Some of these photographers actually pick you up from there
Yeah,
from
that's right.
your hotel, take you there, and you will always have these
I
beautiful
know.
pictures.
You know, I've been seeing a lot of photography, nice place, like in Paris.
in Paris.
I'm doing that in Paris, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always wondered, like, how do they do that? But now I know it's a
Yes,
thing.
it's a thing.
And,
It's a
it's a
thing.
local, so that's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
tip. I want to
Now-
have a nice photo shoot.
Yes,
Especially
yes.
since I don't know, as a mom,
Yeah.
I'm always the one behind the camera. So
Always,
I have
girl.
tons of pictures of my
them,
kids,
but
but I
not-
don't
none
have
of
any
them.
nice
When you're in it.
pictures of
True.
me.
I get
Exactly.
mad. I'm not
Or
in
I have
them.
one picture that some tourist, I convinced somebody to take of me. So yes, I highly recommend getting a photographer.
I mean, listen, I've done a lot of traveling with Andy, specifically with Andy.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah,
took
and
a
you're
little
the
bit of
photographer.
convincing because, men don't like to take pictures.
They
They're
don't.
like, oh my God.
And if
really?
they take it, it's 20.
Like,
Yes,
oh my
same
God,
pose.
that's going to be so weird. They just don't like it.
Okay, and another tip I have when speaking of like safety too,
Yeah.
air tags. Okay, you can throw air tags in your luggage. So
Okay,
if
how does
you
that work?
lose,
What does it look like? I've never seen one.
but it looks like a
honestly.
coin. It's like the size of a quarter, and they're Apple air tags. So you can get like a couple in a package. I think they're like 3 to a pack or something.
Yes.
And you can throw them in your luggage, and that way you know where your luggage is. So if your luggage ended up in Barcelona and you were going to Rome, you'll see that where it is.
Oh my God.
Okay,
I
so you
love
can
that.
track it
Anywhere
like
in the
that.
world.
Love
And
it.
when I was as a single mom traveling with 2 young girls, when I went to Istanbul, because
See.
you read things and you're like hear about human trafficking.
Yeah.
I pinned air tags to the girls to their dresses.
Every day.
Clever.
Every day I would put air tags. So
You
it's
know
like,
what?
God forbid, like I said, I'm a single mom traveling with 2 girls.
They're
and I was
beautiful.
like,
Yes.
what if se las roban por ahí? And I was like, if the air tags are like on the inside of their clothes, I know. I mean, they
Safety
could be
first.
ripped off, but I was just like,
Why
you never
not?
know.
Wow.
And then speaking of clothes, a mini steamer, like those little ones you
Yes.
can find, just a little handheld one.
Oh, good
Because when you're traveling and you're rolling up your
Everything
clothes,
is
you unroll it.
wrinkled.
And then you don't want to have to pay the hotel fees where they charge you like $20 to
I
iron
know.
a shirt, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's hard. So a mini steamer, but make sure you bring your converter because depending on what country you're in Europe, the plugs are not the same.
converters.
So you don't
Yeah.
want to burn your appliances, your hair tools, and all that stuff que llevas.
Your
So make
vibrator.
sure you.
Burn that shit. It's on fire.
Oh my gosh.
There's a fire in the
Only
penthouse.
Mindy would take her vibrator
Yes,
on vacation.
of course.
I don't need one.
Oh, yeah, but I'm glad you brought up the steamer thing because that's one of the things I hate about traveling. Everything
Yes.
is wrinkled. And if you're
Yes.
like me that I cannot stand a wrinkle, I iron every single day. Or even if you take clothes that doesn't wrinkle, like sweaters,
Yes,
they're still, I mean,
There's
you
still
roll it
una
up
línea.
so much que sale
Yes.
todo como chicharrón.
Yes.
And then, but I'm always depending on the hotel asking them for
Most
an
hotels
iron.
do
iron.
have
They
that.
usually have an iron,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just in case, like when I went on my cruise last year, we didn't have they didn't have an iron. They don't have irons in the cruise ships, or at least you have to ask
Really?
for it, or you have to send your clothes
Yeah.
out. And I'm like, I can't do that for 3 of us.
Oh, no.
So yeah, in
There's some
fact,
tiny
speaking of a
ones, yeah.
photographer,
Yeah.
I ruined our Paris pictures. I didn't have a steamer, and they didn't have an iron in our hotel room,
Right.
and you had to pay extra. But when I took the girls to the Eiffel Tower and I did my own little photo shoot with my own camera,
Mhm.
Athena's dress is all wrinkled.
Ay, no,
I was
qué
like,
horror.
But it's
Photoshop.
okay, cute shot, cute photos.
Send
but,
it
no, but I
over.
remember you told me a
Photoshop.
secret. You can't Photoshop wrinkles out. You told me.
You can smooth them out, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
would
hard.
Have to,
It's
I
really
have to
difficult.
AI a whole different
Yeah,
dress
so
on
ni
her.
modo. So now I
That
know
might
a
work.
steamer. What about you, Janet?
Those are some good tips. I think especially if you're going on an adventurous like travel destination, the one thing that saved us was a portable charger.
Oh,
A portable charger.
yes.
So you obviously make sure that your phone is charged up, but take that portable charger with the cord. It'll save your photos and also to get back if you
Yes.
need
that's right.
if you need to
Power.
get on a Uber, whatever it may be. So yeah, so portable charger.
Like a power
Um,
bank, they call them, right? Power bank, I think.
Yeah,
It's like
they,
a
they,
portable
charger,
they
yeah.
literally can go into your
Yeah.
Right.
purse,
I
you
love
know,
that.
with
Kind
you.
of
They're
heavy,
super
some of them,
easy.
but they're
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
very, very worth it.
Yeah.
I would say the other thing that I've discovered that I love, and it helps with the wrinkles, obviously rolling, not folding,
Yes.
right? Rolling
Yes.
helps with wrinkles,
Mhm.
but the packing cubes.
Oh,
The
those are
packing
awesome.
cubes.
Yes.
So you can either pack it by your
Outfit?
your
Yeah.
outfit, or you
Mhm.
can pack it by sections. You
Yes.
take out the packing cubes, you put it into your drawers when you get to
Yes.
the hotel, and super easy. And then a emergency kit, like a little small mini emergency kit for when you're walking in case you need some extra band-aids or you need some Advil. Just make sure that you have those
That's
with
smart.
you.
That's true.
Yeah, because sometimes you just can't find them wherever you're going,
Yeah.
and having that
I
is
carry a
super handy.
pharmacy. I carry a pharmacy
I was
with
going to
me.
say,
Yes.
yeah, because
I
when
am
you're in
not
other
kidding.
countries, you want Pepto-Bismol, but what's the equivalent of Pepto-Bismol in France?
Yes.
They may have
Yes.
something different.
I-
And if it's in
I
the
do
middle of
that.
the night, who are you going to call at that hour to ask for
What if you get
Pepto-Bismol?
food poisoning is a
That's-
big
yeah.
thing. So I carry, believe it or not, I carry stuff for your stomach
That's
that you would get
exactly.
at a hospital.
Tums,
That-
to
that I
Tums, Tums, Tums.
Oh no,
Yeah.
not Tums. No,
It's
girl, this is
true.
food
It's
poisoning.
true.
This is when
Fíjate
you're
que I've never had that.
actually when you can't even hold
cuando te
anything.
sale
Yeah, I
on both
have
ends.
those-
Diarrhea.
Yeah, diarrhea and throw up.
full on diarrhea. So
I guess
carry
so. When
those
you travel
pills.
to different
Yeah.
countries,
Yeah.
you know, you're
You buy it,
exposed
yeah,
to,
exactly.
you know, different
That's
bacteria.
true.
So
Yeah, carry your
True.
pharmacy.
that makes sense.
That's
Carry your
what you think.
pharmacy, but
Yeah.
a small emergency kit. Is
Talking
very,
about
very good.
gross things like you know
Those
diarrhea.
things.
So this is one thing that Omar does. He buys underwear from Ross or TJ Maxx.
Yeah.
Takes the packs
Oh,
and throws the underwear wherever he goes. Like he literally that's
he doesn't wash it.
he doesn't want to
Before?
come back. He does not like to
dirty
carry
underwear?
dirty underwear in his luggage. So he literally buys packs
Disposable.
and throws them
underwear.
away. Y yo, oh my
Oh,
God, estás
wow.
dejando like Omar was here. Omar was here.
Oh,
Deja un calzón en cada hotel. You know?
Oh my God.
It's hilarious. With me, what I do, my strategy is the first thing I do when I walk into a hotel room, I always go to the closet and I always fight for the plastic bag. You know, they always have a nice
yes.
folded plastic
yes,
bag.
the laundry
Which
bags.
is a laundry bag.
Laundry.
But
I steal the cloth
Laundry-
ones.
I'm
The linen
never
ones.
going to go tell them wash the clothes because it was too
Muy
expensive.
mexicana yo.
So I
Need napkins,
recycle
you
their
have bags.
bag. I recycle their bag and put my
Yes,
chonies in there.
me
And that's
too.
what I do.
Yeah, and then
too.
just put it aside.
Yeah, but Omar
They're-
is like,
yeah.
hey, you're carrying dirty chonies all over the trip.
Okay, he must be really dirty.
I never thought about it like that.
Están en la bolsa de
It is
plástico.
what it is.
I have,
Okay,
okay, how many
behind.
pairs of underwear do you take on your trips?
Oh, I take
Extra.
at least 2 a day.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
2 a day.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm actually really bad. 2 underwear a day, but then you're like,
Minimum.
okay, at
Minimum,
least. So if
yes.
if you're traveling for 7 days, there's at least 14 going.
Yes.
And then I'm like, okay, three extra just in case.
Yes.
Right? So I know.
This
and
is
then
why the suitcase starts like this, and then you need the bigger
Exactly.
one.
I
This is how
know.
women think.
And then I know you said about the cubes, like
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday.
Mhm.
I can't do that because for Monday I'll be like, well, morning trip,
Yes.
lunch, dinner, fancy place. So 3
Yes.
outfits a day just
Mhm.
in case. You never know. That's me.
And
that's
shoes.
why I'm a bad
I don't
packer.
pack by outfit. I pack by category. So I have all my jeans in one area, all my shorts, all my shirts, and then I have.
But you don't do
Oh,
the
no, I
outfits
do
here at
outfits.
home?
No,
make
I
the
do. I
outfits
think
here at
I
home.
think about it ahead of time, you know. But
Yeah.
but I don't pack that way.
Don't
I
you do a
pack
fashion show
differently.
before you
I
pack? Because
do.
I do.
Absolutely.
Is it, how's this gonna look? How's this gonna look?
Matter
and
of
shoes, and
fact-
I always
Oh,
carry
yeah.
extra shoes.
Yeah, matter of fact,
Yes.
my luggage, I
Whoopsie.
love my luggage. It's
Yes.
it's those foldable ones.
Yes. Mhm.
With hangers. So even my dresses,
Yes,
when
yes,
the-
yes.
my dresses are hung.
Ah.
It's the best luggage I found on Amazon like 10 years ago.
That's a good tip.
Samsung,
Invest in good
luggage.
luggage.
Make sure Samsung roller foldable, but make sure it has a place to put at least 20 hangers. So when I get to the
20
hotel,
hangers.
yo saco mis vestidos que ya planché aquí.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's a good
And
tip.
Here you go. I don't take a steamer, but I'll put them in the bathroom, hang them
see.
on the rod,
Yes.
put hot water. David, hear this because I know he doesn't like to sting because he burns things. And then just let the hot water run. For like, who
Yeah.
cares? You're not paying. You're
Yeah.
paying for that bill. 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Los vestidos are gonna get a little bit damp, but guess what? Wrinkle free.
Yeah, no, I
Wrinkle
tried
free.
that. It
Wrinkle
doesn't.
free.
It did not work for me on the
Really?
cruise.
Certain
No,
fabrics,
nada,
it doesn't
nada.
work,
Yeah,
right?
I just need a steamer. I learned my lesson last
Yeah.
year. I was like, I need a steamer.
Yeah.
I need a steamer, a little handheld one.
There you
Nothing
go.
big.
The luggage matters.
The luggage does matter, especially now with the little wheels that they have them. We had the ones that were like the cheapy ones, and then it had a really nice one. Oh my gosh, the way that you can just travel,
Life-changing.
it's life-changing. Invest in good luggage.
Yes, it's worth it.
Yes.
It's worth it. It definitely is.
We should
because-
link all of our recommendations so the comadritas and our
Yes.
followers
Yes.
That's a good idea.
can have all the
Yeah.
tips that we talked about
Yeah.
during
Yes.
this episode, and
I love
also
that.
maybe we can link up that Amazon luggage that you're talking
You
about.
know what? Every time I post it,
I want to hear.
people want to
yes.
buy it, and it's always sold out. But hopefully, it's back. I don't know why they don't keep making that one. It's the only one that has the one with the hangers, which I think it's.
love
I think our dear
that.
friend Sandy, with her travel company
Oh yeah.
through World Travel, I
Yes.
think she can even give us a discount on some of that awesome luggage
There
because
we
she does
go.
have something very similar to that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
let's talk about that as well.
All
Yeah,
right.
for me,
Yeah.
perfect luggage is hangers, compartments. You
Mhm.
know,
I want that hangers one. I've never heard.
it's
of
amazing.
that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
amazing. So
Okay.
that-
Good
Life-changing.
tips. I love it.
travel
Oh,
live, but don't
yes,
forget all your
that's right.
outfits.
That's right.
And shoes, very
And
important.
gotta
your
look cute.
Johnny.
Disposable ones too.
With that being said, are we good to go? Travel
good to
the
go.
world?
Let's go.
Yeah, boy. Let's go.
Vámonos.
Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love to see your reviews and hear your thoughts. You can also follow Comadres Unfiltered on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for more updates. New episodes every Tuesday. Until next time, comadritas.